All right, all right, all right. So,
Great.
guys,
Yay.
welcome to another awesome episode. Um, we have some great message for you guys today on the show. Of course, I want to go ahead and do a quick introduction first of all. Again, you are also listening to the Lift All Voice podcast. This is where we are lifting voices through storytelling, one unique story at a time. I'm your host, Faith, and welcome, guys. So today we have a treat, like I said, and we have a special guest in the house. I'm super excited because this is someone that really, I think, you are going once you hear her story, you're going to be so inspired by her story and just the type of like life experiences she's been through. And just to do a quick introduction, really quick here. Again, she's a bestseller author, also a top mindset coach. Meredith Alexander is also I would say she's a world class motivational speaker also. She's worked with high level professional. I mean, we're talking entrepreneurs and just anyone who wants to really become more focused and just to be able to reach the highest potential. She's that person that has that knowledge and that skill to be able to get things done for you. So this is where it comes in when I say she has an inspiration story. It all started in 2016 when Meredith and her family experienced a traumatic, life changing event, right? And so her youngest daughter, actually took a mission trip um, to South America. And on this mission trip, she was crashed by a boulder. Now, this is something that is obviously very traumatic. She had no clue what was going to happen to her daughter, of course. And but get this, through all of this, she was able to guide her daughter, and also with the help of the amazing doctors, and she was able to get her daughter through this process. Of course, now here is the thing: the doctors also felt like because of the injury, her daughter wasn't going to be able to make it. So this is what I feel like she has a miracle story, just because coming from being hit by, crushed pretty much by a boulder, and then being able to survive, not just survive, but to strive and be able to recover as she has done. I mean, Meredith, she's very busy, of course, but if you haven't really heard of her, she's one of those people who loves to share her story. Of course, this is a very compelling story that really is worth sharing. So she goes around the country, she and her daughter, and they're sharing their life-changing story in hopes to just uplift a lot of people. Miss Meredith, please welcome to the Lift Her Voice podcast.
Thank you so much, Faye. Thank you so much for that lovely intro. And hello to all of you listeners out there. Thank you for joining us.
Right. It's so great to have you. I know your schedule's so busy. You have a lot going on, being the motivational speaker you are, and just with everything else you got going on. So thanks for fitting us into your schedule. Um, so right now, I feel like the great place to start on this will be, I would really like you to share a little bit about your story. So let's start with the time 2016, when you got that phone call, right? When you
Sure.
got the phone call for your daughter after you just learned that she was crushed by this boulder.
Right. So, for me, it was this beautiful, gorgeous Friday afternoon. I was this entrepreneur that was chasing, doing all the marketing and the
Right.
branding and the latest hack, and was right in the middle of my busy season in that business. And
Mm-hmm.
about 3:15 in the afternoon, the phone rang, and I picked up that phone, and just from the inhale of the voice on the other end of on the other end of the line, I could tell that something had gone terribly wrong. And this little tiny voice of one of Skylar's friends said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to tell you this, but there has been a terrible terrible accident, and Skylar has been crushed by a boulder. And I don't have to tell you that there's nothing that prepares you for that. Nothing.
Yeah.
When you get that call. Right. So for me, it was, there were 1,000 thoughts that were racing through my mind. And of course, at the beginning, I was trying to find a reason to believe that this was not so, that she had just broken her leg, that it was minimal, that this was just, I needed to take a breath. Everything was going to be fine. It was all good. And the more that I asked questions, the more that it became obvious, until I finally had the courage to ask this young woman the question, well, is there a chance that Skylar won't make it?
Mm-hmm.
And I will never forget the horrible silence and pause before she said, well, they haven't said for sure. And when I hung up the phone, I just collapsed. I collapsed on the floor, and probably every single negative emotion that you can imagine. I mean, it was despair, it was total grief, it was frustration, it was self-blame, it was so many different things. And yet there was a blessing in all of this too, and that it didn't happen in our hometown, right? This happened in Colombia, South America. So with my other daughter, I had to get on a plane, and I had to spend almost 12 hours traveling to get to my daughter. And I can tell you that there is no better place to ask yourself some powerful questions than up at 30,000 feet. And so as I flew on that plane heading to what the doctors had prepared me would be one final goodbye, if they could keep her alive long enough, I really asked myself what I was going to make this mean. And I realized that of all the terrible emotions, the worst one was feeling powerless to be of any help to my daughter when she needed a miracle.
Exactly. Wow. I mean, Meredith, just hearing that story really, being a mother as well, myself, I can only not even try to imagine how it, it may have felt for you getting that phone call. Like you said, you felt like you were kind of almost not yourself, like something just left your life. Everything was over. You felt this overwhelming feeling that came upon you. And I feel, wow, what did it take for you to just, get on that plane and then go to a new country where you were now trying to figure out whether or not your daughter's whether or not she's going to survive, not even knowing really how traumatic this whole situation was, and just having to get there and try to figure out how you can best help her, but also for you to be in the, in the mind frame and to be able to really go through the situation where you're able to really deal with the trauma that came with that. So what was it so when you got there, so you got to South America, what was it that really kind of maybe, I won't say shift your mindset, because I feel like it's still a little bit too soon, right? Because you just had this traumatic event and now you're trying to figure everything out, kind of put the pieces, and the puzzles together. So what was it that kind of transitioned your mindset to where you were thinking, you know what, we can get this done. We can go through this. We'll be able to get through it.
Interestingly enough, and this is part of, I think, the beauty of when we learn to trust the process, right? And that there is a beautiful magic to life. There are things, pieces of the puzzle being put together that we have no idea are being put together. And so fortunately, one of the things that had been of incredible interest to me all my life, that I had studied all my life, is why do some people find happiness and even find that happiness and soar and thrive when faced with incredible adversity and huge challenges and obstacles, and while other people seem to crumble and stall? and,
Right.
and how, what's the secret there? What's the common denominator? And so I had immersed myself in studying mindset and energy and the things that I call the inner game, right? The law of what I prefer to call attracting the right action. I look at the word attraction as a contraction for the words attracting the right action. And I'd study those. So as I was literally on that plane, I came to that point where I said by far the worst emotion, right, was this
Right.
feeling of powerless. I had, if I was going to help my daughter, I had to get that power back. And the only place that I could look was that inner game, and it either worked or it didn't work. But right now I had nothing else. And so I began really, first of all, asking myself some new questions that my mind had to believe, because I knew that for the inner game, I had to get very, very clear on what I was going to be focusing on. The presence of what I was focusing on is what would expand. So if I was focusing on her fighting for her life, then the outcome would not be so great. But if I could find a place authentically focus on her as if I'd been lifted up and transported into the future to see her not only surviving but thriving, that is where it would have to go. So I started asking myself some simple questions like, had anyone throughout time ever done anything impossible? And of course the answer was yes, because I was flying in one of those impossibilities, right? And
Right.
so I was able to really inch myself up to a place where by the time we got to this tiny little hospital in Socorro, Colombia, I was in my power. I did not arrive as the second victim of this boulder. I arrived saying, game on. I may not be able to control my outer game, but I sure as heck
Right.
can control my inner game. So that transition was inspired by having to be there for my daughter, right? There was no
Right.
other option.
Wow. So I
Yeah.
mean, so that's very, very interesting, because when you go through trauma, and it's just something that really kind of puts you in a victim mindset, right? And I think we all go through it, right? And especially if it's something that's very changing, life changing, it's hard to kind of shift that mindset and say, okay, I need to look at this the other way and try to figure out how I can best, change my attitude or try to change my mindset. But I mean, to me, that speaks volumes about, all of the experience and the training you've had in the past about when it came to mindset. So you kind of almost were preparing almost, throughout your life, and then to get to this point where now I won't say it was easy for you because you said so yourself, but it was a little bit more encouraging for you to be able to know, what, no matter what happened, I have to do what I can to be that mother that can be there for my daughter, supported, just inspiring her, encouraging, do what I can to hopefully make sure that she's aware that I'm here for her and we're going to get through this. I think that shows that, you guys have done a really good job just being able to go through this whole process with that mindset. But what I took away was that the mindset is what really makes the difference for you guys.
Yes, and you just touched upon a really, really important point, and it's why I'm so emphatic about sharing our story. And also it's what I focus on, and why when I work with clients now, it's so life-changing for them. And it's one of the key elements is that resilience is not something that you can go grab like an aspirin when you're faced with a problem,
Right.
right? Resilience is something that you learn how to practice your shifting your mindset realistically, and you get evidence in advance of what you are capable, and also understanding that your life is a partnership of moments that take your breath away because they're so wonderful, but moments that also knock the breath out of you because they demand that you tread on the unfamiliar. And yet it's that partnership that creates the potential that really will help you when you learn to embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit these obstacles, you're able to roll over them a lot more easily because you've practiced controlling your mind, directing, guiding your thoughts, instead of what most people do is their system is really just to react. We get up in the morning,
Right.
we maybe take a shower, we grab something to eat, and we go out and say, life, have at me, I hope. And then we try to control the things that are out there so that we
Right.
react as best as we can, as opposed to understanding that there's an elegance in the process behind each and every one of our stories. And it is deliberate that there are times that we're going to feel relaxed and great,
Mm-hmm.
but also those times when we are challenged. And it's those times when we are challenged that allow us to discover that hidden potential. So they are critical for us. Does that make sense?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, what you're seeing right now is it's 100% accurate. I mean, we we don't always think about the fact that every little trials, every little life-changing event, every little mountain, so to speak, that may be, in our path. And, as we go through life and we climb those mountains, right, we leave those little footprints. And as we get to the top, we may overcome those mountains, but then those are lessons that we kind of just also grab with us that also help build our characters and also build our will and for sure to be able to get through whatever else life may throw there are. So it's like you said, it's not just a mindset is not just built overnight. It's something that you have to work on, almost like a job, right? You have to consistently work on that to keep building that. So that's very true. So what is one way do you think that others can build this type of resiliency and shift a mindset?
I think it all begins with the first step in what I now call that grit formula, and grit being what I believe is the differentiating factor between the people who really soar as a result of facing these obstacles, or people who get stuck and feel overwhelmed when they're faced with the unpredictable, when they're faced with change, when they're faced with something that actually causes them to be fearful, right? So grit is actually an acronym. So grit, the G stands for getting to a place where you can own your greatness. That means owning who you are, clearly understanding what you're passionate about, what you love doing, but also what your skills are, what your superpowers are. Because when I work with people, it's amazing to me how many people come to me and really can only name a few things that they think are their skills, because they feel it's like it's being arrogant. They are afraid to really embrace who they are and where they excel. So it's really understanding the greatness in yourself, and also how these tougher times in your life have contributed, rather than looking at yourself as damaged and scars. Look at your scars as the things that cry out that you are mightier than the freaking boulders, and thanks to them, you are soaring far higher than you would have without them. So G is definitely owning your greatness, and R is beginning to look at life through the lens of resilience. I is marrying your intuition with a deliberate intention, and understanding the power of those two. And then T is that transformation. So the first step to really get there is that identification process. It's saying, who am I? Who am I? And what is my driving factor? What is my purpose? What is my mission? And realizing that sometimes if our minds can be our own worst enemy, our imagination can be our best friend, our biggest champion. And going back and stretching the imagination muscles a bit, but it really is very clearly understanding where you are right now. So many people try to fly by that, or think that because they knew who they were 5 years ago, or by listening to the crowd, well, you should do this or you should be that, they've
Right.
lost themselves in the process.
Right. No, I think that's very true. With just life, we get busy, right? We tend to forget our goals, or maybe we might feel we cannot attain those goals. And I think having that great mentality and be able to use those acronyms to really get those results, it's something that can be life changing for someone who may be struggling with, losing that focus, not really having like an actual steady path of where they need to be, right? Or maybe they're not fully utilizing their gifts or the talent that they have been bestowed upon them. They need that guide. And great, I feel like it's a great system to kind of use as a tool, but as a way to create some type of potential success for oneself. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure. Absolutely. And awareness, to your point, is so incredibly important, and especially
Right.
to be aware of your language, right? And also you mentioned focus. Yes, to be aware of your focus. So often we will think that we're focusing on one thing. For example, people used to say, how can you be so good at always trying to look on the bright side?
Right.
And I would always reply to them saying, I'm never looking on the bright side. And people would say, what do you mean? Clearly you are. And I would say, no, if I were looking at the bright side, when we try to look on the bright side, where are we really focused? We're focused on the presence of the big looming dark side. So that is really where our focus is. So often we believe that we're focusing on what we want, when we're really focusing on the lack of the presence of what we want. So it's why we want what we want, not actually being focused on what we want. And that makes all the difference in the world with your subconscious, or with the law of attracting the right action. Is really to be aware, what are your words telling you that you are focused on, right?
Right, most definitely. So I also want to let's go back a little bit more. I just love this story, so I want to kind of hear a little bit more.
Sure.
So once you guys got to the States, so you went through this whole ordeal with your daughter being hit by a boulder in South America, in Colombia, and so you go there and you actually are able to bring her back to the States, where she's able to now meet with doctors and be able to help with that. So what is the best, I would say, as far as once you got back to the state? I know you guys probably she had to go through a lot of different therapy and just a lot of different things with her situation to be able to get her back to where she needs to be. So your daughter name is Skylar, right? How is Skylar doing right now? Like, has she been able to recover? Where she's at in the recovery process?
So we spent 4 months in the hospital in Miami. Um, uh, two of those months were in the ICU. Multiple procedures along the way that each one of them, they thought it would be miraculous if she survived. However, when we finally were released from the hospital, she could not sit up on her own. She could not be left alone on her own. She could not talk. She could barely swallow. She could not lift her arms. She definitely could not stand or balance. And so now it's been about 4.5 years. So we have seen thousands of little victories along the way. However, I am most definitely still her 24/7 caregiver. And she's gotten to the point where if we're spotting her or in a robotic suit, she can actually walk with a walker. And in the robotic suit, she can even walk with one of those little canes with kind of a claw at the bottom. But it's really her balance that has been impacted. And so until her brain can get that back to a manageable place, she depends on someone to even help her transfer from the couch to her wheelchair and then help her from wheelchair to bed or bathroom. So she's still very, very, very dependent, but it's amazing. I mean, her brain, she still is fluent in Spanish. She still reads like crazy. It's been, like I said, thousands of different victories. I never in a million years thought I would get to watch one of my children learn to walk twice.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, it sounds like, you have, it's a lot to go through, but I feel being able to have a family, and I think you both are very lucky to have each other and as a family unit, because if you go through life trauma, like what your daughter had experienced, you have to be able to get through something like this. To recover, you need a support system. And I think that's exactly what she has. Your daughter have you, and it sounds like you've done a great job and just being able to be supportive. But not just that, like being a caregiver, it's not easy. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of time. And I mean, if anybody could do the best job of being that for her, it's you as a mother. And I think it's wonderful to know that you guys are there for each other and you've been through the steps with her and trying to get her back to recovery. It sounds like she's doing lovely with trying to get back to normalcy, and hopefully, like you said, she may not get the 100% right now, but she's on her way. And you guys are doing a good job also.
For sure. And that really, speaks to mindset again, right? It's asking yourself different questions. It's calling yourself out when you have definitions that you weren't even aware of had, like the definition of a happy life, for
right. Right.
Whether children or things like that, we don't know that, and we believe that she will, and yet it's about this moment right now, right here.
Exactly. Well, I think that just the whole mindset thing, like you say, always come back. It's tied back to mindset. I feel like with everything in that, but that's the truth. That's the honest truth. Like your mindset, I've heard this saying where it says, if you're in your head, you're dead. And, just being able to create a mindset will really help you to get to a positive mindset. It will help you to get to whatever goals and whatever dreams, whatever things you're trying to accomplish. Creating a mindset that will, something that's going to be able to get you to whatever things you want to accomplish. So with COVID-19, right, and I think a lot of us are experiencing all of this trauma, and we're being affected in many ways. And I think we sometimes, when we're going through just trials and hard times, we don't really have that time to sit down and really experience it, because we're just going through the motion and it's just happening to us. So right now with COVID and just the stress and the anxiety that's going on, what is some encouraging words that you can give to our listener that may be experiencing anxiety or may feel like they have a boulder in their life, they cannot get over this boulder, it's just something that it can't? How can you encourage them?
First of all, you mentioned this earlier, getting some sort of help to give you that boost of an extra perspective. I mean, when I work with my with my clients, every single one of them comes to me feeling like they have anxiety, like they're stuck, like they're overwhelmed, and like they've tried everything. Well, they've tried everything with the same mind. Einstein has a saying that you can't solve a problem with a mind that created it. So I would really, really encourage anyone who is in the position to get some kind of help. If you can get some sort of help from a qualified coach who really is skilled at helping you being able to see that potential. But outside of that, it really comes down to making sure that you're asking yourself, what am I making this mean? So for example, and the symptoms are in the words that you're using. Like if you feel like I'm stuck at home, well, you're not really. I mean, first of all, how many times have each of us said, oh my God, I'm so tired of running around. I just want to have time to take a bubble bath. Well, what about the 20 minutes that you used to have to commute home from work? Create your own, that's your commute time, right? Take that 20 minutes and hop in a bubble or go when you're out. Watch the going on. Take time to really make sure you fully present and that you're listening yourself, right? Where you're pushing so hard against that one wall, not realizing that there are no walls on the other three sides, right?
Right, exactly. But you know what? I've learned so much myself just being able to have the opportunity to speak with you today. You have brought so much value to our listener. And I think the last comment you mentioned to really help anyone who's experiencing any type of stress, anxiety, that's a great advice, guys. If you are listening to this podcast, I hope you take away what, our expert said today, Ms. Meredith, that you need to take time for yourself and, start doing those things again that make you happy. Those things, whether it be taking the bubble bath, maybe you might need to get your nails done, do something for yourself that will get you back to your own normalcy, whatever it may look like for you. Only you know what that is, and you have the power to make that change and make that difference in your life. And so, with that, I just want to say, so thank you so much for being here with us today. You've enlightened us, you've taught us, you've fed us, and you've done a great job. And thank you so much for taking the time to show up and be here with us today.
Thank you so much. And, I just want to offer a gift to your listeners that if anyone feels like they're feeling overwhelmed or feeling stuck or feeling like they are ready to, they know that they're destined for more, but they have no idea what that more might be. I would be willing to gift any of your listeners, and you can put this link in your show notes, but I would be willing to gift them one of our Find Your Powerful Future Now strategy sessions. It's 20 minutes, but it will help you get crystal clear on what are the next steps, what you need to do in order to move forward, to really identify and what might be, challenging you to find that hidden potential and to leave you energized so that you are able to go take these steps immediately and move powerfully forward. Because it is, like to your point, it's a challenging time right now, but we've got this. Ultimately a great time. And all for and love your life.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing more with us. So guys, you hear what she said. I mean, if you guys need more information, so if they want to get in touch with you, especially if they wanted to, to hear more of your compelling story. Really, I think it really is worth listening to and actually reading more about. And so for those that want to like know more about your story, and like you said, also get in touch with you regarding professional services, how can they reach you?
So if you want to set up one of those strategy sessions, you just go to bit.ly, L-Y, /power future, or just visit my website, which is gritmindsetacademy.com. And you can get the copy of the book, which has the sky is the limit, which is the actual Facebook post that I actually posted during all of this. But Grit Mindset Academy, and reach out to me, and I would love to hear from you.
Wonderful. Absolutely, guys. Take advantage of that. I mean, Meredith is I feel she's a world-renowned speaker. She's done such a great job in the field. And I think she's one of the top female, I would say, if not the top females motivational speaker out there. So definitely, you guys, she's offering this. Make sure you take advantage of it and really get those, get those dreams, those goal things that you need in your life, moving for sure. So I really want to take a moment and just to honor just our special women's, right? So as we all know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And as such, with everything else going on, I will hope we will not forget that we have a lot of our sisters out there who, sisters, mothers, aunties that are really also struggling with this disease. And I just want to make sure that, everyone here, my team and I at the Lift Our Voice, want to let you guys know that we are with you and always praying and hoping that, there will be some cure someday. And you guys, I know that you're not alone. We're here to support. But I just wanted to acknowledge that because I know that's very important at this time of year. And of course, we're always going to continue celebrating and just, moving forward. It's not just October, right? It's every day should be Breast Cancer Awareness Month, most especially October is. All right, guys. So there you have it. I want to thank you all for just being such great support system to this podcast. I mean, y'all have done a great job. We've seen a lot of the reviews coming in, and man, y'all just know how to make a girl feel good and just doing a good job with supporting. We appreciate your support. I just want to let you know that we want to hear from you. We would love to hear from you guys. So you can always leave a message with us on anchor.fm. You can also rate this podcast. If you like this show, 100% rate us on Apple. You can also listen to us on Spotify and just wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us there. Thank you guys so much for being here with us today. I know we brought a lot of value. I hope you were able to learn something new and take away something for your own benefit as well as others. But make sure you stay tuned, right? For our next episode, we have a special guest lined up. I know you guys are going to get a lot of knowledge and just a lot of inspiration and story as well. We do over here. We're lifting voices through storytelling, one unique story at a time. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you soon.